Good afternoon. Happy Saturday, all. Dr. Jared here. As most of you know, just here to discuss continuation on the book, The Paleocardiologist by Dr. Jack Wolfson. Starting on, let's make sure you can see that, starting on Monday, we are doing the full seminar like we would normally do live at the IBEW, but because of the current restrictions, we're doing everything online. Want to remind you as we're going through eating paleo, if you want to be pretty simple, what is paleo? Paleo is eating mostly vegetables, meat, nuts, seeds, healthy fats, and some fruit. The two things that are most restricted on paleo are avoiding dairy and avoiding grains. But today I want to talk specifically about meat. So in this book, this is a great point that they make. Meat is good for you when it's from a free-range, healthy, happy animal enjoying its native foods. The consumer gains extraordinary health benefits. So if you look at a lot of the things where people go to a plant-based diet or go vegan or anything like that, you know, there are some health benefits to that. But here's the thing: they're basing the comparison to a meat diet on bad meats, on cheap meats, whether that's traditionally, raised like corn and soybean fed cattle that have incredibly high amounts of inflammatory fats, or whether that's, cheap meat like you might get at McDonald's or Burger King. But I'm going to read this again, and I want you to think about all the meat that you eat. Does it qualify for this? Meat, when it is from a free-range, healthy, happy animal enjoying its native foods, the consumer gains extraordinary health benefits. This is why we buy local grass-fed cattle. This is why we buy free-range chicken. This is why we get wild-caught fish from Alaska, but mostly from the ocean. The reason we purchase that, and almost, if not all of our meat is nearly perfect, is because that's where really the health benefits are. Some of the things or the reasons for that, if you're not as familiar, is that meat that's grown properly or fed properly has ideal fatty acid ratios, meaning that it's not inflammatory. So the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio in a truly grass-fed cow is really good for you. It's heart healthy. Where from a traditional, if you eat a steak or hamburger from a traditional corn-fed cow, very inflammatory, way too many omega-6s, and that's what's linked to heart disease, inflammation, all the other kind of stuff. Also, if you want to talk from a study perspective, 1996 study showed that people that enjoy this type of meat had a 50% lower risk of heart disease. So you think about this kind of stuff, very, very important. Some other benefits of eating meat: it's full of B12, so that's one of the things that's really good for your brain, good for your health, good for your energy, good for your nerves. But you can't get B12 from plants. So those that don't eat healthy sources of meat have to supplement in many cases with B12. You might have heard of B12 shots and some of that kind of stuff. You can also obtain from the meat essential antioxidants in certain cases. It's helped to lower blood sugar because the protein digests in your stomach less intensely. Really, if you're looking, I'm reading on page 28. I'm reading all the different things here, just highlighting a few things. Meat and seafood contain beneficial fats such as EPA and DHA. This is especially true in seafood that are great for brain health. Also, meat contains healthy minerals like zinc, iron, and another B vitamin. Meat can, like for instance, there was a study done on wild-caught salmon. Wild-caught salmon had double the omega-3s and 4 times the amount of vitamin D that farm-raised salmon had. So again, you're eating the same meat, but you might be getting a whole lot more bang for your buck when you're getting the right type, and also a good way to get vitamin A. So again, grass-fed is what you want when you want to see grass-fed, organic, free-range. When you're talking about red meat with chicken or turkey, again, free-range, not fed antibiotics or animal byproducts. It'll often say no antibiotics ever. When you're looking at fish or seafood, you want to see wild caught right on the label and typically where it's from. So one interesting thing too, if you remember from the post yesterday, Meat is another spot where you can get very absorbable calcium. So most people think about dairy for calcium, but meat can give you calcium. So meat eaters have a much lower risk of osteoporotic fracture. So those are a few things that are very important. Again, you can get antioxidants such as glutathione or superoxide dismutase. Glutathione, if you're watching a bunch of stuff about this coronavirus right now, what a lot of the natural people are talking about how supplementing with glutathione, it can have a significant impact on you, lowering your risk of having more severe symptoms from the virus. Where do you get glutathione? Well, glutathione is actually made by your liver. So what you're trying to give your body are the precursors or the things in it. So when you consume meats that have these precursors, very good for you. Now, 70% of all antibiotics are used on livestock in this country, so you can actually damage your gut flora and can cause things like acid reflux, bloating, lower absorption when you eat cheaper meats because they can be full of antibiotics. So on to page 30 here. The last thing I want to say or talk about with meat before we talk about seafood is many things to grow fast. So for instance, non-organic milk is often the cows are stimulated with hormones. That's also true for growing the meat that you're going to consume. And so consuming the hormones in meat can throw off your hormones because you're taking in synthetic hormones. Also highly stressed animals. So those that are crammed in. Can you imagine if you ever want to just realize why you eat free range, just type it on YouTube. The difference between free range chickens and non-free range chickens. You'll see how they're smashed into cages. I mean, who wants to eat from a stressed animal? It might make it cheaper or more efficient, but you're getting a stressed egg. You're getting those stress hormones in the food that you're eating. So you really want to consider meat is where you should spend the biggest difference in your money. So before you buy organic vegetables or anything else, if you really have to prioritize your spending on food, the number one spot you should spend better is on meat. Meat followed by dairy, followed by everything else. So keep that in mind as you're deciding where to purchase in the grocery store. Also, this is the Midwest is a great place to buy local because you can get so much of this stuff direct to you from the farmer. So it makes it much more cost effective. Say, for instance, you were trying to buy a grass-fed steak from the grocery store. It might be 15 or 20 bucks. When you buy a grass-fed cow, maybe buy, I believe a lot of the farmers, like one person we use is called Chestnut Cliff Farms out of Freeport, but you can buy as small as 17-pound increments, and you get hamburger and you get steaks and you get roasts, and you get them for like $5.50 a pound or something like that. So it's a much more cost-effective way to do it. If you live in the city, depending on how far away you are, another great thing that you can get online is called Butcher Box, which has the option for seafood, pork, chicken, beef, all that kind of stuff. So nice. There are a lot of nice options that can be shipped to you right now. But besides these hormones, one of the things you have to realize is this is where they link the damaging meat that you're eating to things like breast cancer, prostate cancer, colon cancer. It's why younger boys and girls are going into puberty at earlier ages because all these extra hormones are throwing their body's hormones off. So the meat is where you want to spend your money. Let's just make it plain and simple. Now, seafood, the big thing with seafood, omega-3s. Most people don't get enough omega-3s in their diet. If you're not eating fish at least 2 to 3 times a week, in my opinion, the book says at least 1 to 2 times per week. It quotes a study, but you need to be eating fish or seafood to balance your omega-3 ratio. If you're not, you should supplement. Simple way to check if your supplements are garbage, take your omega-3s and put them in the freezer. They shouldn't freeze, they're in oil. So if you're taking in Walmart or Walgreens or GNC or some of these where they sell 120 for very, very cheap amounts, you might think you're getting omega-3s, but you're probably getting a lot of fillers. Another thing, we always use Jif as an example. So the green labeled Jif that's omega-3, one of the spots that you get omega-3 from is from tilapia gelatin. So they grind down the gelatin of the fish. As you might imagine, not the ideal way to consume omega-3s. So get it from a good source. We carry omega-3s. So if you're not a fish eater, you really should be supplementing. It's good for your heart. It thins your blood. It lowers inflammation. It's been shown to be good for brain, dementia. I mean, all sorts of stuff. But omega-3s are essential. So in this, on page 31, it says, review in 2006 found that those individuals eating fish 1 to 2 times per week had a 36% lower risk of coronary artery disease. I could go on and on about why you need to be eating fish, but that's important. Also, now one of the things that people do is if you're not getting fish from good sources, you can, due to the pollution we've done in our environment, have more heavy metals in your fish. So one way, if you're worried about heavy metals when you consume fish, or like when I personally, I love sushi, we consume either blue-green algae or chlorella, which can bind to those heavy metals. Vitamin C is also a good metal binder. So that's one of the things to consider, and that's part of why I do a greens drink every day. As you may remember from yesterday, we talked about that, but I do Max Greens every single day because it has all these other beneficial components, not just because it's a good way to get extra vegetables. So reminder, 6:45 Monday night, we will be posting that. These are on Facebook and YouTube. So if you want to look back on these and are having trouble finding it on our Facebook page, you can go to Chiropractic First of Rockford on YouTube, and they'll all be archived there as well. Or if you want to share them with a family member, you can, that doesn't have Facebook, it's an easy way to do it. Please share this. Please post your comments. If you are a current client, reminder that we are giving away complimentary books. So we're doing a book study on this to grow and empower you to live your best health now. Have a blessed day. See ya.